What is up, everybody? Is Tyler with Mom's Basement MMA, but we aren't talking about MMA today. We are talking about the sweet science boxing. First boxing show I've ever done, and this is probably the only boxer I'll ever cover because boxing is very complicated for a primitive creature like me. Today, I have Brody the Hitter Chambers. He is from Baltimore, Maryland, and we got a fight coming up for the American Boxing Federation Featherweight title. That'll be happening at the Maryland Live Casino in Hanover, Maryland on October 23rd. So, Mr. Chambers, man, how are you doing today? How is camp going? And how excited are you for this upcoming bout?
Man, I am excited. I can't wait. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm going back home to Maryland to actually fight in front of all my fans, family, and friends. Like, that's just so exciting. And I just want to give a big shout out to Jetta Promotions, my promotion company, for just giving me the opportunity to actually fight for this first regional belt. Like, with me, I don't have a big amateur experience, but like, I work hard.
We're fighting in the DMV, and you're coming back. I know that you're at Grindhouse in Atlanta. And I know you're with Coach Mustafa. I know he's like an amazing coach. And I want to just kind of like pause and think more about the DMV and then just this belt in particular. What does fighting in front of your home city and what is winning this belt going to mean to you?
It's just going to mean a lot. Like how I started, especially started in boxing, and to just put my time into this and actually like win something and start to like become something big out of it just lets me know and lets other people know that like you can do anything as long as you put your mind to it. Like, you can succeed and reach levels in which you never thought you could reach. Because like, I'm one of those people, like, I never thought I would be at this stage. Like, I'm climbing up the ranks now, and it's like, damn, like I'm actually getting a title shot to a real sanctioned body. Like, that, like, for me, like, this is just feel so good. It's like okay, like, keep putting in like the hard work. Your hard work is starting to pay off and show. So hopefully, like, I'm just a big inspiration to people and let people know you can do anything you put your mind to and don't stop chasing your dreams. Like, I've had so many trainers just like shit on me, like make me feel like I wasn't nothing, but in my mind I was always something. So like, I never stopped.
And good for you. And let's get the obvious out of the way. You and I are like the exact same age. You are a week older than me. I looked it up. So like, we're two old dudes, man. Like, compared to everyone else out here, we're two old cats. I know it sounds crazy. I didn't think I'd wake up and be old as fuck one day, but here I am.
A lot of people say that to me too, but like, I don't feel old at all.
I don't either.
21.
I don't even fight and I don't feel old. Well, that's not entirely true. I'm kind of tripping. I do feel old sometimes, you know. But the reason why I bring up the age thing is because, do you feel that people sometimes don't take you seriously because you're a quote-unquote old guy? Like, you're a police officer, right? So it's like, this guy's a hobbyist, man. This guy's doing this for fun. Do you feel like people shit on you or not take you seriously because of those things?
Sometimes, but then when either we work out together, get in the ring to spar or fight, they're like, oh shit, how old did you say this guy was? Like, he's coming at me with heat. Like, he's outworking me. Like, he's faster than me. So it's like, I don't let that deter me at all. And like, one of my favorite fighters was actually an old guy, like Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins. Like, man, this guy was still competing at the age of 40, still winning titles. So
yeah,
I don't let that deter me at all.
I think like one thing to point out is we're 36 years old, you and me. be 37 here this upcoming spring. You have a record of 5 victories, 0 defeats, 1 draw. So, and I watched one of your previous interviews. You said you have probably about, I don't know, maybe a dozen or so AMI bouts. So, all things considered, you don't have a lot of mileage on your body as far as like bouts are concerned. Do you think like that plays into your favor a little bit?
With that, yeah, that can be a gift and a curse because like I don't have high mileage on me, but also with that I don't have that much experience either. Like it's just like police work. To get good, you gotta learn on the job, and that's what I'm doing now, learning on the job.
Well, you're at one of the best boxing gyms in the country, and you have one of the best boxing coaches in the country, Coach Mustafa.
Yes, sir.
So I want to ask you about that. You talk about not having experience, but did you move from Baltimore to Atlanta because of your boxing career to like, so you would be able to be by that gym, or how did that work out?
Yeah, like making a transition from here to Atlanta, I knew like certain things I needed to work on, and defense is one, and I see like he's a defense specialist. So like coming down here, making that move for boxing, I think that was one of like the greatest moves that I could absolutely have made because like the competition as you win and just keep going up just gets better and better and better. Like it's different levels to it, and I want to be able to compete at that high top level. So
Absolutely. Brody, you talked about getting into the sport just because of like Mike Tyson and just how influential and like how big of a rock star he was for you, and how you kind of that piqued your interest and wanted you to get into the sport a little bit. And when I think about Mike Tyson, I think about the most intimidating, scary fighter in any sport. It doesn't like mixed martial arts. It doesn't matter. Kickboxing. It doesn't matter. Like when I think of intimidating people, I think of Mike Tyson's the first guy I think about, and he was so fun to watch. And it was that left hook and those body shots is what I remember him for. Is being really close to people, right, and just overpowering people. Like the body shots with that guy in particular is just something that is just seared into my brain. I know Mike could do it all, but that's what I think about. Is that something that you try to, I don't know if emulate's the right word because we're talking about like one of the greatest boxers of all time, but like are there certain things from his game that you tried to bake into your game?
yes, I definitely try to like use a lot of head movement, and Mike also had a very good jab, so I try to establish that good power jab just like Mike. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about your opponent a little bit. He's a young kid. His name is Blake Quintana. He has a perfect record. He's 4-0. So from a matchmaking standpoint, I like the matchup. You both have a comparable amount of sanctioned bouts under your belt. And you fought I don't know. I guess it made 50-50. When I look at it on paper, he's fought roughly around the same caliber opponents you've fought. This is the best opponent you have fought to date, and you could say the same about him as well. What advantages do you have over this young man?
I really haven't seen anything on him. I just looked at his box rack, tried to Google him. All I seen was his family has a gym, but like that's one of like the beautiful parts about boxing. Is like it's gonna take me back to the amateur days. Like I don't know what a guy got until like we get into the scale and then get on and get into the ring. So I'm gonna just go out there and use the tools that I have. Hopefully what I have is much better than what he has, but I'm gonna just let everyone know right here, right now, if like you haven't seen me fight, I'm a straight dog. So it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna get ugly. So whatever he's bringing, it don't matter because I'll die in that bitch.
I went on Instagram a little bit and I went on his page and I was able to see he may have blocked your ass, but I got in there and I saw some of his like training footage. But you know he was just hitting mitts and he was just hitting a bag, and that doesn't. I mean, anyone can look good when you're doing that, I guess. But just from the little amount I've seen, he looks really quick. He looks like he's a talented guy, but I don't know. I think there's something sneaky about you, and what I mean about that is you have been around this game. It may not all be documented and on paper, but you've been around this game a long time.
Yeah.
You've probably been in boxing gyms most of your life. As a young man growing up, you may not have all the bouts on paper, but how many times have you worked with other guys getting them ready for bouts? How many times have you like been in a guy's corner in an AMI situation? Like, I don't think this kid's going to throw something at you that you haven't already seen before, and I think that's a huge advantage for you coming into this bout.
Right.
Do you have any sort of like other advantage, like mentally? Do you think over this kid going into it?
I'm a grown man and I'm willing to put my body on the line to when I'm willing to do anything, like not cheat, but like I'm willing to go out there and like push myself to the limits to actually win. Like I don't know how many people can actually like do that. Like whether or not I'm out punch, like hit hard, I'm gonna keep coming and coming and coming and coming and coming until I break you down. Like I'm gonna break your spirit. Like no one can take that away from me at all. Like I'm that rough. Like I'm going to show you like I'm the top dog in there.
So in boxing, the featherweight division is 126 pounds, if I'm not mistaken. In the world of mixed martial arts, it's 145 pounds. So yeah, I know. It's like there's no traceability between classes, and for you guys, there are a lot more classes. And I think I will happily call myself a boxing casual, but I'll watch your fight. I'll watch your fight. But like when I see other boxing, when I just see boxing in general, it's kind of confusing for me to watch. You know, you watch Canelo come out to the ring and he's got like 10 goddamn belts. He's got like 50 people having to bring all of his belts and stuff to the ring. And, you know, they're talking about cruiserweight classes and super light heavyweights and shit. And I'm just like, I don't know what any of this stuff means. So you have to do like a lot of like research and stuff to just kind of like have a rough idea as to what's going on unless you already follow the sport. And I talk about all this stuff because when it comes to like boxing in general, it's in the news now, and it's kind of a polarizing question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And you know exactly what I'm going to ask. The Paul brothers and all that other noise that they're doing, is that good for the sport? Or like when you look at it as a professional, is it disrespectful to the sport?
I'm gonna say yes and no. No for the fact because it's like okay, like you're making a mockery out of it, or like you couldn't do that with basketball or like baseball, but since you got some sort of fame, you can just come into boxing and fight. Now we'll say yes because like now like you're getting under these other fighters' skin, which are making them train a lot harder to want to knock your head off, or you putting them in place in the fight to actually get to this guy to knock their head off. So I'm gonna say yes in that standpoint of just putting a fire under a lot of fighters to want to get to them and just make them train harder.
I think one of the benefits of the Paul brothers, just when it comes to boxing, is like I know that they bring kind of the circus with them, and you have guys that are they got a lot of mileage on them that were in the mixed martial arts realm, but they weren't boxers. Woodley was not a boxer; he was a wrestler. Ben Askren, same thing. He was never a boxer. He was a wrestler. He's never fought a boxer before. So it's kind of like me and you, and it's like, hey man, like you're a professional athlete. I'm not. I'm gonna challenge you to like golf, and I'll talk shit about you when I beat you in golf. It's not the same thing. It's not even close to the same thing. And I think just kind of thinking if I were a boxer, that's where I'd start getting a little pissed off. Is like you put all the blood, sweat, and tears into this to compete at that kind of level, and they're just some guys able to just come out from nowhere and kind of get those kind of opportunities that you've worked your entire life to get. I think one of the positive things, though, would be I think about the fighters on the undercard that may not get opportunities. And if you have the ability to fight on an undercard for one of those events, that could be, you know, there could be a lot of eyeballs on, and that could be great for your career.
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about outside of the ring and just kind of more about who you are. You're a really special guy, and there's a lot of unique things about you. And I wanted you to describe to people, like, you were a Baltimore City police officer. You were a very decorated veteran of the police force up there. And can you talk a little bit about your career as a police officer and how you kind of were able to train in for boxing at the same time?
All right, so funny story with that. Like, I never wanted to become a police officer. My child's mom, she left me for a state trooper. I said, man, I gotta do something new. I want to beat this guy up. So I went and took the test, passed everything to become a police officer, all because I wanted to beat up this one state trooper. But then when like I got the job and like I see how it was, and then like I seen that I actually had the ability to help people, not arrest people, actually like help people, the people who actually needed help. Like I just took that role on, and like it gravitated to me so much, and it was just so easy. Like I know what it's like not to have like a hot meal and everything. So it's like it's a big homeless population down there as well. So like I would get my squad or just like all sectors together. We'd go out, we'd get like food from Burger King or all go get pizzas and have lunch with the homeless and show them like all police aren't bad. When I was training for a fight, like luckily like I had good supervisors that would let me train doing work and tell me like only thing I want you to do is win because you're so positive and you're so good for the department right now, and this is what we need. Like we need to spotlight this, but like it never was spotlighted other than in my district. So like I'm so grateful for all the supervision, especially Sergeant Martin over at the Eastern District, and just all my support back home over at the Eastern District, because they helped me with like a lot of things. Like for like my third fight, like even a few of them even helped pitch in and donate money, because I fought about a year ago, year or two ago in October, and I raised money for the breast cancer foundation. And because of like a few of the police actually know my heart, they actually pitched in with me. So we had gave like a nice amount to the breast cancer foundation after my fight, and I got to meet two survivors. So
That's so cool, man. And like you hit on a lot of things. You hit on just kind of the funny story about getting into law enforcement because your ego hurts, right? And we've all been there, man. We've all gotten dissed by a girl before, but think about like the difference you've made in the lives of people. Like that hamburger, just giving somebody a hamburger and letting them know that like, hey, I see you for who you are, a human being, and showing a hint of compassion to somebody that 99 out of 100 people ignore or consider a nuisance. That says a lot about your character. And you've probably impacted more people outside of the ring than you ever will inside the ring, and I think that's a good thing. And let's talk about boxing in particular, and let's talk about the importance of boxing in places like Baltimore and places like Atlanta. You're talking about two major urban areas. I've been to Baltimore many times. I've been to the airport in Atlanta. That's it. But speaking for Baltimore, for people who have not been to Baltimore, I'll explain what it's like. And keep in mind, like, this is just a perspective coming from me, a guy that lives in Northern Virginia, going up into Baltimore. I'm a chubby white dude. I don't belong in Baltimore when you look at me. Like, you look at me and you're like, okay, are you at the Inner Harbor? Are you here for a game? Are you watching the Ravens or the Orioles? Because if you're not, you have no business being here.
Right.
Like, it's very much like that for people who've never been in the city before. Baltimore is a very, very rough city. And the crime rate is sky high. Murders happen all the time. Look at The Wire. If you've never seen the show The Wire, do yourself a favor, check that out, and that'll give you a much bigger understanding of just how difficult it can be to live in the inner city of Baltimore. You have a lot of minorities that live in the city. They don't have any resources. They don't have money. Playing football that's out of the question. Dad might not be in the picture, and what you see happen is a lack of opportunities and young men getting into trouble, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. It's there's I don't know if you've ever seen The Wire or not, but part of the story arc there was a boxing gym, and like one of the ex-cons starts up a boxing gym in Baltimore, and he's able to pull kids off the streets and get them out of trouble, focusing in on boxing. And can you talk a little bit about just the importance of boxing in places that I just mentioned?
Man, absolutely. And Coach Mustafa says it, and I also agree with it. And I've felt like this when I was in Baltimore, and me and my promoter Tony Jetter wanted to start like a boxing program. Like boxing actually saves lives. It's like we had more like centers just like around everywhere that like taught boxing or taught some kind of skills, or somewhere where kids could just like take a load off and just actually be a kid. Like that'll help save like a lot of lives. Like it'll turn that negative energy into like a lot of positive. Like I think that's honestly big, but like no politicians or anything wanted to get behind us. Like I know they have a cops and kids programs in New York City. Me and Jetta talked to one of the guys about it. We were trying to get it brought down to Baltimore, but we had no one to really like back us and like say, you know what, like let's try this program, because like we were getting backlash like, no, boxing promotes violence. Like no, it doesn't. It actually instills disciplines. Like you take things away from kids. Like you're not even gonna give this a try. I just was at like a standstill with that. But I guarantee you, if I get on that big enough platform to actually have like that like name, I'm gonna go back to my old job at the police department and try to get something in place where we can make a boxing program and help pull kids from off of the streets. Valid if COVID is through to
Yeah.
everything. But that's what I actually want to do. Like I want to start like my own boxing in there and maybe put one down here. Like I want to actually give back.
And you can, and I can't think of like your proof that you don't have to come from a lot to be a lot in life. Look at everything that you've been able to accomplish in the ring. Just let's just say you never fight. Let's just say you never fight again in your entire life. You have accomplished so much in the sport of boxing that most people could ever dream of. Whether you win the belt or not, you have. And it's a very good example for kids to follow that may not have examples to follow. Like the examples that they have are these guys that are knuckleheads that make a bunch of dumb decisions. They're either dead or they're in jail. And you're able to showcase like, hey, listen, like if you put your mind to something for something good, you can accomplish great things. And that's what boxing is, right? Like, I mean, it's about wanting it. Like you're doing all the work outside of the actual fight. Like the fight's the fun part. All the real work is like, when you're training and you have to get up and run 10 miles when you don't want to.
Right.
And before I let you go, I wanted to ask, just you win this belt, and then what's going to be next for you? Like, do you have a timetable as far as like after you win the belt, like when you want to get back out there? Are you going to take the rest of the year off? Like, what is next for the hitter?
I win, and when I do win the belt, I should be going back to Philadelphia to fight December 3rd. Then next year, 2022, my goal is going to be to try to win some kind of intercontinental title, or possibly try to get world rated, or like who knows if like I'm doing that good, and if I get to 10-0 with in that year, like maybe like I can be a mandatory or have some kind of big fight to actually get me to the belt. But the main goal is to possibly get to 10-0 and a continental belt, and then possibly world rated. If that doesn't happen in 2022, 23 world rated, and then possibly a shot at some kind of a big title. So like I do have that thing.
Heck yeah, man. And like, here's the thing. The opportunities in combat sports, they start showing up regardless of how old you are. None of that shit matters. Are you winning? That's the only thing that matters. Do you win? Then the opportunities show up.
Absolutely.
End of story. End of story. And I know you're going to take care of business. I know you're going to get in there. I know you're going to throw some things at this kid that he hasn't seen before. And I don't know this kid. I don't know anything about him or his life, but there's like a certain mentality that people have from like the Charm City. That's what Baltimore's called for people who don't know. And I don't know, you guys are just cut from a different cloth, man. Like you guys just want shit. I know it sounds cliche, but like you just want shit more. I can't describe it. You have to go to Baltimore and you just have to experience it for yourself. And Brody, man, you're gonna win this belt, man. I look forward to having you back on the show after you do.
Man, I look forward to coming back. I look forward to like the next time for you to meet my promoter, Coach Mustafa. Like it is be a party, man.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely run it back. And Brody, before I let you go, I want to give you the opportunity. Why don't you go ahead and shout out people at your gym, any other sponsors, anyone that needs to get a thank you or a plug from you. Now's the time.
Yes, I like to give a shout out to my promoter, Tony Jetta, a few of my sponsors, my mom over at the Mimi's Ice Cafe, my homegirl Sporty over at the Sporty's Dog, my homeboy Zoe over at Vital Water. Trying to make sure I don't miss anyone. Damn. My homeboy Brian over at Tactical Financial. Just everybody who supports me. All the guys at my gym, Big Snipe, Marco, Dre, Mac Truck, everybody, like Coach Mustafa, Coach C, and just thank you, man. And for those who don't know, like I'm on Facebook, Brody Chambers, but my main source of social media is IG. You can follow me _team.brody. Please follow. Please.
We'll do that. And I got a plug for you too. You got some slick gear on MMAT Company. Make sure you guys check that out. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So for you youngins that don't know, that's the Cobra Commander sign from G.I. Joe. So, definitely get that fresh gear, man. It makes a lot. It makes a lot of difference because, fighting isn't cheap. Like, there's a ton of expenses. There's a ton of fees. And when you buy, if you can't go to Maryland to watch a show, you know what? You could drop $20 on a team, man. That ain't a thing. So we'll definitely run it back, man. Brody the Hitter Chambers.